Hello. You are listening to the Grieving Parents Sharing Hope podcast. We are here to walk with parents on their unwanted journey of child loss, guiding them to a place of hope, light, and purpose, not in spite of their child's death, but as a way to honor his or her life. And now, here is your host, author, speaker, and bereaved parent, Diehl.
Hi. Today's episode is the fourth and final Advent reading, which fell on Christmas Eve. Now, that night I also did the Christmas Eve reading from my Reflections of Hope book, and we're not going to play that for you here in this episode. If you would like to hear that, you can watch the replay on YouTube, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. However, after you hear the recording of that reading, I am going to read something else to you here today. Several years ago, I wrote Twas the Night After Christmas for Bereaved Parents. And since this episode comes out the day after Christmas, I thought it would be good to read it to you after we listen to Week 4, Day 1 from Hope for the Future, an Advent Journey for Bereaved Parents. So let's go ahead and listen to that. It's Day 1 of Week 4, and the topic of this week is love. And in the book for today, reading from Hope for the Future, an Advent Journey for Bereaved Parents, today the reading is something that I wrote several years ago, and it was just my heart. So let me go ahead and read this. That's how it starts out anyway. And I titled it Forever. My child, flesh of my flesh, soul of my soul, part of my very being. I had an instant, deep, and fierce love when I first saw you. My heart was yours, and I knew I would give my very life to protect you. And yet, here I sit, with the suffocating pain and darkness of knowing I was unable to protect you from death. So now I find that just as deep and intense as my love for you is the deep and intense pain of my grief in living without you. And yet I know that somehow I must. How, God? How do I go on with a piece of my very being gone from this earth? And as I ask and seek for this help, God, in his tender love, compassion, and faithfulness, reminds me that I don't have to live without you. You are forever in my heart, my thoughts, and forever a part of my very being. That our separation is only temporary. You have just moved on to our eternal home before me and have unpacked and settled in, waiting for me and the rest of us to join you. This isn't a final goodbye. It is an I'll see you later. When I have the thoughts that I would give anything to see you again, to hug you, or to hear you laugh, I realize that I will. Maybe not as soon as I want to, but it will happen. And so I will wait. I will wait with hope, expectancy, and even excitement to see you again. Every day I am here on this earth means that I am one day closer to that desperate need that I have as a mother to love on you. And while I wait, I will choose to live my life in a way that is full of love, full of peace and contentment, full of laughter, and yet I know it will also still be full of pain and longing. For I have now learned that all of these things can live inside of me together. So let me say I am honored. I am honored and blessed to be your mom, and I imagine and dream of our reunion someday, filled with love and joy that goes beyond words to describe it. But until then, I will have good days and bad days. I will have days filled with happiness and days filled with pain. And all of those days I will continue to miss you with every fiber of my being. Let me go ahead and light the red candle, which is our candle for love. And then I'll keep reading. Advent is a time of waiting. The most common use of the word Advent is waiting to celebrate Christmas. But as bereavers, you and I are much more excited about something else we are waiting for, being reunited with our child. About a year after Becca died, I confided in a friend that I felt guilty because I was more excited to see Becca in heaven than I was Jesus. She so graciously replied, "But Laura, you've made a deposit there." Without the hope of heaven, we could remain in a drowning sea of grief. We will probably never understand why our child had to leave us so soon. That part of child loss will always be a mystery. But with heaven to look forward to, we know we can make it through today. And remember, each day we are here is one day closer to being there. We grieve deeply because we love deeply. That is one of the risks of love. But as the poem reminds us, our child is forever in our hearts and in our thoughts. He or she is forever a part of our very being. Our separation is only temporary because God, in His deep love for our child and for us, made a way for that to be possible. So here's what I wrote called "'Twas the Night After Christmas." 'Twas the night after Christmas, and I was still numb. The holidays felt like they had not really come. It's hard to explain, but it didn't seem fair that my child is now gone and I cannot share the laughter and joy of this fun holiday in our wonderful traditional family way. She is not nestled all snug in her bed with memories of another Christmas filling her head. Will it ever get better, I ask in my heart, knowing that each year we will remain apart. As I cry out to God full of heartache and tears, He reminds me His presence remains very near. And though I don't feel a desire to celebrate, the reason to do so remains very great. For Jesus came as a baby on earth to give life here meaning, value, and worth. And even though I have said goodbye, and I am confused and don't know why, the truth remains I will see you again, and there will be no more tears or pain. But until that day comes and it's my turn to go, there is one thing that I certainly know. The love that I have for you is without measure, and you remain in my heart as a beautiful treasure. And while dreading to go into a year that is new, I realize each day brings me closer to you. My Christmas may not have been merry and bright, but because Jesus came, someday it will all be made right. I just want to remind you of two things here. One, there is still time to get the Reflections of Hope book, which is a daily reading for bereaved parents if you want to start out the year with it. If you would like to know more about it, just go to gpshope.org/books and click on the Reflections of Hope book. Second thing, I want to remind you, GPS Hope will have been around for 10 years in 2024. And for the first weekend in August, we want to invite you to a special event here in Wisconsin. We are having a weekend of hope for bereavers, like a retreat, and we're going to be ending on Saturday night with what we're calling a celebration of hope. To find out more about that, go to gpshope.org/weekend of hope, and I will also put a link to that in the show notes. Now, for today's birthday segment, I am going to go all the way through to December 31st to the end of the year. John Ferreira Jr. was born on December 24th and is forever 32. Isaiah Key was born on December 25th and is forever 13. Nicole Daniel was born on December 26th and is forever 27. Ryan Durkin was born on December 27th and is forever 19. Aria Arona was born on December 31st and is forever 15. We celebrate the day these children came into the world and into the lives of these families. We know it will always be an important and special day. If you would like to have your child's birthday shared with the other listeners, I would love to be able to do that. All you have to do is go to gpshope.org/birthdays. Just fill in the needed information, submit that, and we will announce your child the week of his or her birthday. Now, I have a special announcement to close out this episode. I am going to have to take a small break starting next week. Now, the plan is to return on Tuesday, January 23rd. If God unexpectedly gives me a little something to share, I will hop on and record a short episode. But as of right now, I won't be on here for the next 3 weeks. Now, I know that affects the birthday segment, so when I come back, I will share all the birthdays that have happened starting with January 1st. During that time, you may want to go to the GPS Hope YouTube channel and watch some of those videos. Now, it's only been within the last year that I started putting the podcast on YouTube. Before that, I made short weekly videos on different topics, and there are around 200 of those videos. Now, just as an FYI, I am hoping to get back to making a short weekly video again, which is one reason I'm taking a few weeks off. I need to figure out how to get some sort of a routine with a non-consistent schedule working a full-time job in retail. So I just need to just really work some things out here. Now, fortunately, there are a lot of ways to stay connected while I take this short break. I love you all, and I'll be thinking of you and praying for you, and I would love it if you would send up some prayers for me as well. So until we are back together here on the podcast, remember to hold on. Pain eases. There is hope.